Hey, this is Abe.
And this is Alexa.
Welcome back to the Get Out and Enjoy Life podcast, or GOEL.
Today we're talking about random things we've been interested in lately.
Yeah, so we were actually up in Fremont, Seattle area yesterday.
Yeah.
And we were driving around. We were going to get some coffee because we were going to look at a wedding venue, go do a tasting and things. And we saw a mail truck.
Yeah, and a few Amazon trucks as well,
Yeah.
which kind of made us think, how does Amazon or even mail services deliver all these things in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, there's warehouses everywhere. We see those. There's lots being built. But it's still a feat in just being able to get anything you order really within 2 days' time. In this area, I know it's different all over the United States.
Yeah.
My mom lives in Hawaii, and it takes a week sometimes to get things there or more. But even the United States postal system or service, I know people kind of harp on that a little bit, but still they get everyone their mail. You know, it's not
all
always...
kinds of packages, all kinds of goodies.
I mean, especially during the holidays, they're overburdened with all the packages. But yeah, getting people in this area, like 2-day shipping or same-day shipping is just, it's amazing. Unfortunately, like we try not to, or fortunately, we try not to support Amazon, but then it's kind of finding those trade-offs.
Yeah, and there's also sometimes really niche things that you can't find anywhere else in a store. Specifically, I've been looking for this matcha whisk, like a bamboo whisk, and it's just been really hard. Today we kind of went around to different stores and nobody had it. We even had one of the stores call another store to see if they had it. And there's just a lot of time that's involved with trying to find something specifically.
Yeah, like time and gas. I mean, we enjoyed ourselves.
Yeah, it was totally fun.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting to think, like, sometimes that's why I do use, like, not even Amazon, but just ordering offline in general. Like, I went to go order some camera equipment through Peak Design. I was trying not to use Amazon. And when I got to the purchase, like the pay for it, it had like Amazon's logo where you click to pay. And I was like, that's weird. So I clicked on it to see what it was. And it basically pulled in all my information from Amazon, like my credit card and stuff. And so I don't know if it's Peak Design like pulling just information in or if they're actually running it through Amazon.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. But you can go on Amazon and look, and there's a Peak Design store and all the same products and the same prices.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's just so much on there. Sometimes it's, it's more convenience than anything.
Right.
And like even when we're laying down in our bed at night, sometimes we're scrolling through Amazon just looking at things that we're interested in, and then of course you might have something in your cart and then it goes on sale and it notifies you, hey, this has dropped in price. So it almost is like dragging you in
Literally.
to kind of buy these
You're like, do
items.
I have the money to pay for this right now?
Yeah,
I was going to order
yeah.
it like when I get paid, but now it's on sale. Like,
oh my gosh, and then they have that subscribe feature, which you can, I feel like, accidentally press if you're adding to cart.
Oh, yeah. Like,
if it's
like
a
if it's
product
like
or something
hair
like that.
gel or something like that.
Yeah.
And then
they also
like,
have that.
they're like
or
every month.
Or the one-time click, you just automatically buy it.
man.
I've never accidentally done that, but
No.
I've always noticed it, and I assume people
I
accidentally
click
do
the
it all
one
the
by
time.
click a lot, actually.
Oh.
Like the click, like, and then it buys it. I like to subscribe to a lot of different things, and I've run into problems like basically having subscriptions like a year later pull like X amount of money out. I'm like, oh man, I'm not using that anymore. And so kind of with looking at all the finances and looking at Amazon, I was spending a lot of money on Amazon. Alexa kind of said, Alexa noticed that I was getting lots of packages, I should say.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, no, I don't have a problem. And then I started looking at how much I was spending, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to cut back. And so really kind of like you said, laying in bed, scrolling through Amazon, it's almost like anxiety inducing in some ways. And then I feel like I don't sleep well after it. I don't know if it's being on the phone or looking at like, oh, I got to buy this and this, but then you really don't need it. And so
but somehow you're still thinking about it later on the next day too. And then also, I like to watch a lot of TikTok videos, and influencers have these Amazon lists. So if you really like a specific influencer who promotes certain products, you then can go to their Amazon list, and now you're then again directly buying from that website. to then
Interesting.
get something really
So they like
quick.
make a commission off of it or something.
Yeah, I think they make a commission off of it. It's kind of interesting. It's a little bit controversial because it is also promoting kind of this overconsumption and like
Yeah.
you always need the newest, best thing, which I think is, something that is kind of a problem in our culture.
It's a big problem, yeah.
You know?
All the waste and everything, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
I've recently stopped trying to buy so much on Amazon or just buy in general, and I got a Kindle, which that's through Amazon as well. But I got a library card, and you can get a lot of books through the library onto your Kindle, and it's amazing. So
Through Libby.
yeah, through Libby, the app, and so I read instead of scrolling through Amazon a lot of the time, in the morning or before I go to bed. And I found like it really helps your anxiety. Well, mine personally.
Yeah.
But and then you sleep better.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on my phone a lot, I feel like, but I really love to listen to podcasts. And so sometimes when I'm just at home, I will just put in my earbuds and I'll walk around and do other things so that I'm not sitting there just staring at the screen the whole time. I'm still listening to like a conversation because I love podcasts.
Yeah.
Which is why we have
Who
one.
doesn't? Right. Yeah, so the other kind of thing that we were thinking about as well today, was kind of the cost of everything.
Yeah.
Actually, there was one other one I wanted to bring up, which was before we get to the cost of everything, was we've been seeing a lot of license plates from other states, which, if it was summer months, you would expect to kind of see that more. People are traveling.
Yes.
But
And
this is winter, getting into
Yeah.
winter now, and there's lots of them.
Yeah, we've seen some from Florida specifically.
A lot of ones from Florida,
I've seen
yeah.
some from Colorado. Oh, California
Yeah.
is a big one that's where we're seeing a lot
Yeah.
of those. And usually during the summer months, Washington is beautiful.
Yeah.
If you didn't live here at other parts of other parts of the year, you wouldn't know that it is very gloomy
And
for
gray,
most of the year. And we don't see a lot of sun. Probably why people have vitamin D deficiencies. But yeah, it's interesting to see these people moving from across the United States all the way to here.
We're assuming they're moving because they're here during kind of the crappiest part of the year.
Yeah.
So not the worst, but and then you see, Florida is a very different state in terms of they're not liberal.
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
I think are liberal people there, of course, but and then also, on the Florida license plate, which I didn't know until I've been seeing them all a lot, is it says the Sunshine State, right?
Right,
Which this is that's a big difference from sunshine to really overcast.
And there's no humidity here. No. It's very dry. It's cold, especially if you were living in a much warmer climate.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that. Also with that, I would say traffic has increased significantly for me. Like when I've been commuting to work, I already have a long commute that's usually over an hour. It's usually about an hour and a half. I don't live that far away from my job, but just due to traffic, it becomes that length of time.
Yeah, you live like what, 40? We live like 45 minutes without traffic?
Something like that. And so I've noticed over the last several weeks that it's just it'll take 2 hours to get to work. It'll take an hour 45, and I'm leaving at between 6 and 8 in the morning. And just for that whole 2 hour period, it's
it's a long drive, and then you have to work on top of it.
Yeah, you got to work a full day, and then you have to drive home. So sometimes I'm driving so many hours during the day.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
And we kind of looked at moving closer to your job, but then it's more expensive. And
it's just expensive to just move out of your space and move into another one.
And there's apartments going up everywhere, but they're all expensive.
Right.
There's nothing super affordable.
Yeah. So it's you might as well stay where you're at and So yeah, and we love where we live, but it's definitely something that I've noticed. I'm are more people moving up here? We have one of the highest sales taxes in the nation. Yeah. And we also have the highest minimum wage, is one of the highest minimum wages as well, which
we
helps.
also don't pay like taxes at the
Certain
end of the
taxes.
we don't pay taxes at the end of the year for the state, but we also have a really high sales tax. I mean,
Yeah,
so,
but everywhere, all the apartments are so expensive, and even renting a house or something like that can be too.
It's crazy. Yeah, talking about like kind of the cost of everything. We of course grocery shop, and the cost of everything in the store is just everything's gone up by a couple of dollars. It feels like, and it's even like eating out is really expensive. We usually tip 20%. Unless the service is absolutely atrocious, which it's happened a couple of times, but normally, you give people the benefit of the doubt, and service is usually very good. And but then, so you're tipping 20%, and then 10% of the sales tax, and so that's like 30% of the actual meal that you're like, giving extra of.
Yeah, it gets pricey really quickly.
It's like a $70 adds up so quick just for two people, and like not ordering a lot.
Yeah, and so we've been cooking a lot more at home, which has definitely been more cost effective.
Yeah.
Abe's been experimenting with making bread, which is really cool. So
yeah, it's been like over the past 2 weeks, gotten into using sourdough. And if you don't know what a sourdough starter is, it's basically when you can create your own, where you take some water and some flour, rye flour usually, and you combine it in any type of vessel, a bowl or whatever, and then you feed it, discard some of it, feed it by like giving it water and more flour, and you get rid of some of it for over the course of 6 days every day. And eventually the point of it is to capture wild yeast floating in some bacteria, I believe, that are floating in the air, and then you don't have to buy yeast from the store. And then you also get this kind of like sour, tangy from the bread. But yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds in terms of making the bread with it. It takes, there's a lot of figuring out time. My mom has a sourdough starter, and she lives in Hawaii, but she's told me kind of all these tips and tricks, but they sort of apply, but kind of don't. You got to find your kind of own groove, just because it's so dry here and it's cold, and the starter likes to be warm if you're going to use it. And
for sure.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of fun, and finally figured out how to do one of them.
Yeah.
But the bread was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've also made crackers from that starter. You can make tortillas and stuff.
Yeah, the crackers are good. It's like almost better than store-bought crackers. I mean, they're good, but it's you don't get a lot of them a lot of times, and they're kind of
like
expensive.
the like everything in the bag is like this tiny. The bag's like this
I
big.
know. It's like it's like, why is there all this air in the bag? And so the crackers only take like 20 minutes of actual make time and 30 minutes of like fridge time. But
So it's been definitely very cost effective, and we get to kind of choose the ingredients that are in our foods, which is really nice, to know what's going in your food.
Which is kind of like, I think you cook. I think I like to cook more than you. In general.
I'm like, Abe got me this book, and it's like a TikTok cookbook because I love watching TikToks, and that's like where I got a lot of recipe ideas actually from TikTok. And I find it fun to see something somebody else is making and be like, I can make that too. And, go through and do all the ingredients, and then it's like an amazing dish. So we definitely have our different styles. We definitely trade off cooking.
Yeah, I think you cook when I'm working, and I cook when you're working. And
that works out really nicely.
I cooked a quiche the other day. It was really like, oh my gosh, it was so good.
It was really good.
Not to toot my own horn, but
it was really good.
I used whole whipping cream instead of like regular milk, just because that's what we had on hand, and all the fat in there made it so good. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was really, really simple. Too.
It was just eggs, the whole whipping cream, and broccoli, and I think I put some nutritional yeast in there, and that was it.
But sometimes that's all you need. Really. You don't need to be too fancy or anything.
Made
like
the pizza
that.
or the pie crust from scratch too, which is only like 2 ingredients, I think, really 3 ingredients: some flour, butter.
Yeah. But moving on from like the store and cooking, we also went to a plant shop while we were in Fremont.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, like the prices for plants as well. Like we saw this special Monstera plant about this big. It is more rare. It's like a hybrid plant, and it has like these white splotches on the Monstera leaves. But that thing was $50.
Yeah, it was expensive, and
Yeah.
like even some of the other plants in there that are not rare, like coleus, or I think they're called like spotted plants or something like that, or polka dot plants, and they're like only this big, and they're like $10.
Yeah.
Like
it's just the world.
crazy.
The world is changing.
Yeah.
You know, with inflation and everything, it's just.
And like speaking about like the whole inflation, you know, kind of, I feel like this happens. I mean, this happened in society. This happens multiple times, all the time,
happened.
and people always like the world's ending type of thing. Not the world's ending, but like all the stresses of the world. Yeah, they do add up. But like, I was kind of like trying to put it in perspective for myself, and I'm like thinking, oh, our grandparents lived through the Great Depression, and that was horrible. And you don't have like the technology we have today, and it's so.
Yeah, it's interesting how history kind of repeats itself
little
over
bit,
and
yeah.
over again, just in different ways.
Right,
but,
yeah.
you know, similar thing.
Like the economy, I guess. I don't know a lot about economics, but like,
I don't either.
so they say it all rotates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so talking about like the trying to eat cleaner and everything, you found some apps for all this.
Yeah. I found this app called Yuka. Just randomly saw a video, and you can scan different products and just see what ingredients are in there, and then it gives a ranking out of 100. So like, you know, if you have a product that ranks like 93 out of 100, I mean, that's a pretty excellent
good, yeah.
product. And things it analyzes for are like, you know, things that could mess up your hormones, or ingredients that could be harmful and like lead to cancer. There's so much hidden within anything that we use, whether it's food, whether it's skin products.
It's almost like, I don't know if it's like hidden so much, because like it's there. The
it's
information is there.
But do you know what?
But no one's educating on it. That's like the hidden part.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
it's
you
not
don't
saying,
learn
oh, this
that.
is bad for you, but like, you have to like you read the ingredients, you're like, well, I don't know what this word is.
But think about
taking the time to try to figure it out, which is like really time consuming.
Yeah, like what is this carotene, whatever this long extra word is, you know? And people don't always want to take the time to, you know, look into it. There's all these lists online that say like, for example, when I was looking up sunscreen for when we were traveling, there are all these lists that'll say like 20 best clean, you know, sunscreen products. They use all these like words, you know, very specific words that really draw you in. And so you're like, oh, great. And they're like, well, this is good for your skin here, and it has this ingredient here. But when I would go and scan those items, it was like awful, like bad, you know, has potentially harmful ingredients. Another app that I've used is the EWG app. I'm blanking on what that actually stands for. But it's basically like a group that also looks at products. I think they also do food. And they also have their own ranking system. It's not out of 100, but I think it's like more like a 1 through 4, you know, some kind of lower scale. And they do the same thing too. What's really cool is that you can click on one of those ingredients, and then you can go in and get more information. Is it harmful for oceans, for example? That was something I was looking at with our sunscreens in particular.
Like for the reefs.
Yeah, for the reefs. Like, is it reef safe? And even my hair products, I didn't want specific hair products that could also be harmful. Unfortunately, a lot of the products that are used for like curly girls like me have some of those ingredients, and it's very hard to get away from it.
I watched a YouTube video kind of just trying to educate myself on that. Yeah, it's like so messed up. There's nothing like nothing cheap and like safe, really.
Yeah, so it's upsetting because it's like, you know, people don't, it's not like when we're young, we're taught to really like, let's, you know, look into what you're actually putting on your body or putting into your body. And then you grow up spending years using these products, and it's just like, wow, that could potentially lead to other issues. Yeah, you know,
like breast cancer or like gut problems, what we're eating, or like, which one of the interesting things I found was for a lot of like foods that are not refrigerated or really not refrigerated. Some of them even refrigerated, but there's like, I forget what it's called, but there's something that's put in there to prevent bacteria from growing or molds from growing. But then when you eat that, you have bacteria in your gut, and then that's not good for you, right? So it's like this whole like convenience, but then catch-22 of like the convenience, but then it's not good for you, right? So it's really hard. It's super time consuming to like kind of look through everything, and
it's also like, is that important to you?
Right.
Like for me, it felt very important. Just with, like I've mentioned, I've been going through some skin issues, and it's particular like because our skin is like the biggest organ on our body. Like it's important that I know what I am putting onto my body, because it could affect me in any kind of way.
Yeah.
You know. So
it's definitely been interesting to kind of look through everything, and
it's like being really it's like being a conscious consumer.
Really,
is what it is.
A conscious consumer for sure. Yeah. For yourself, and then for the environment, and then like trying to be conscious for like all the workers that are creating this.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes it's like almost like motivation, and it can get really tiring. Not that like we should definitely be doing this, but it's unfortunate. Like we like wish that it was easier. Like the hopefully one day corporations will do what's best, and not just for the money, right?
And we wish that things that were cheaper were also better for you as well.
Speaking on that, like 300 mLs of water, like a bottle of water, is more expensive than a liter of Coke, like or soda or whichever. It's
so messed up.
It's so messed up. Like it doesn't make any sense in terms of like trying to like care for human beings type of thing.
Yeah, that's just crazy. But
the one of the other things is we went just kind of jumping back to our regular lives. We had talked that we like to go bowling. We tried to go bowling the other night. Unfortunately, the leagues were playing, and they were going to play until like 9 o'clock or 9:50 or something like that, and we got there at 6. So we ended up going mini golfing.
Yeah, which was really fun. It was not super pricey at all.
It was like $12 a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just fun to do something indoor. It's been super gloomy in Washington. We're kind of getting into those seasons where we don't see the sun very often, And I think last year we probably didn't see the sun for like 8 months or something like that.
It comes out here and there, but it's really overcast a lot.
Or it'll just like slightly come out.
Really like, there's some sun.
But it's really nice to have those options to do things indoors and do those kinds of activities.
Yeah. They had like a little cafe or restaurant. They had a bar there, and I think you can buy your own bowling balls and things like that. They had a little arcade. They have all types of stuff.
They actually have so much.
It's actually now that we're thinking about it, we're like, oh man, we should go back there.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, and playing mini golf. I haven't played that in like 3 years. So because I think we played it on one of our dates or something like that.
Yeah, one of our first dates.
The mini golf is way tougher than like.
Yeah,
you think it is. Like,
I was so bad.
Oh man, it's like Plus, like you hit it and then it gets against the wall or something. You're like, oh man, can't hit it now.
And Abe kept getting like down low to the ground, and I was like, why is he doing that? And there's all these hidden hills and bumps and things like that, and my ball would get stuck on the side where I could barely like get it out with my stick. So, yeah.
They had little like sand dune bunkers that were, or not dunes, but sand bunkers. And it was not real sand, of course. It was just like carpet that was recessed into the ground a little bit.
It almost was like a little bit rougher than like the fake greenery.
Yeah, it was fun. You took like a couple of strokes to get out of there, which was like tough. But that's what we've been up to and kind of thinking about. And So thank you again for joining us on Get Out and Enjoy Life podcast or GOEL.
We hope you get out and enjoy life in whatever way that means to you, whether that's getting out in your neighborhood, traveling, seeing a friend, maybe going bowling or mini golfing. We hope you continue to join us on our journey.
Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.